William E. Kurtz, president of the Association for Strategic Accidents, gave a dinner last night at the New Hilton. It wasn't an ordinary dinner. The 12 selected ASA members ate fugu. Fugu is a highly toxic swellfish, and if not properly prepared, it causes immediate death. After the dinner, Kurtz said, "It tasted like victory."
Now, the foundation of the ASA was an attempt to make the concept of voluntarily sought risk popular. The motivation to proclaim this was, and again still is, very simple. If risk-taking behavior is an essential part of human conduct, then we have to shift this away from exploiting nature and transpose this into the cultural domain. Now, of course, the whole construction between industry, risk assessment and public acceptance is a hypocrite one. To be frank, it stinks. And it stinks because the only reason to keep up this construction is because by changing risk definitions, which is, by the way, what risk assessment does, they create new needs, and by doing so, new markets. So their slogan is "Fear sells." Now, another paradox that Mr. Kurtz described in the Fear edition is the proximity of the accident to the total experience in the individual psychological risk construct. And again, the paradox that at the one hand the accident and the total experience are so similar, and at the other hand they are so different, lays in the degree of self-determination, whether the experience took place on a voluntary or involuntary basis. And the best I can do here is to let Mr. Kurtz speak for himself again and quote from this so-called alarm letter. Another significant difference between the total experience and the accident plays the evolutionary emergency, death. Whereas the total experience only can mean life in its most intense form, the accident emphasizes the life circle and the constant struggle between life and death. The accident shows that mankind is prepared to accept the death of a few for the benefit of collective prosperity. Unquote.
A great name, The Art of the Accident. And I want to talk generally about the context first and talk about a couple of projects, because by way of introduction, the Bureau of Inverse Technology is an information agency servicing the information age. It's a large, multinational, international corporation that is actually anonymous, and so we can't really talk about it very much. So what I can talk about is some of the other projects that I've done. I will say that the Bureau is comprised mainly of specialists, and I have been commissioned as an engineer for the Bureau to build a few devices. They've licensed a few of the products that I've built, which I'll show you a couple of them. The plane is a pet aerial observation unit developed by Bureau engineers from the generous residues of Cold War precision and radio control hobbyists. The device consists of a remote-controlled aircraft with a wingspan of approximately 31 inches, mounted with a miniature CCD board camera and transmitter. The transmitter sends a continuous stream of control view video to a ground receiver, providing the pilot controller with a navigational view for the plane. This footage can be captured to high-8 video format from the ground receiver. With a 1-mile flight range, Bitplane demonstrates a virtual independence from its pilot's hands and human payload. I think the alterity is important because it's not the technology itself, but it's the ideologies that are embedded in the technologies that I think a lot of cultural workers like to oppose. Certainly in the case of the Bureau of Inverse Technology, that we just amplify your burp.
I see the connection between my brain and the brains within these devices is sort of a balance, in that I'm always surprising these machines while they surprise me. They put out a sound, I hear it, and I sort of vaguely know where what my switch groups do, and I can flip a switch and it will cajole the device around. Like I say, I rationalize my my groupings through sound. So I basically go in there, usually at the juiciest, biggest chip, which is usually the data chip or memory chips, and go in and take off the circuits and put in other, external switches that are controllable by me. Memory is very interesting to take apart because it actually has its own sort of structure that you don't necessarily hear or know about when you use memory on your computers.